Alrighty, so here we are on lesson 13 and we are going to do lesson 14 in this video, so it's going to be a combination, but we're talking about division in both of them. Before we get started though, I just want you to write yourself a few notes at the top to kind of go over what we did yesterday. Just some key words. So remember that for the words sum and difference, sum, difference, we use those parentheses. Alright, now today we're going to add another phrase that goes for parentheses. Whenever we see quantity of, we are going to use parentheses. Alright, so that's our new one for division today. Alright, remember that the quotient is the answer to a division problem. And remember that whenever we see the words less than, we have to switch the order. Alright, so make sure you have those down at the top just so we can go over them again. But again, that new one is quantity of, we use parentheses. Okay, so in this lesson, we are trying to write division expressions based off of a sentence they give us. So the first one says write an example or an expression showing 1 divided by 2 without the use of the division symbol. So remember, we've used that fraction bar as division before, so it would just be 1 over 2. Alright, same thing down here where it says write an expression showing a divided by 2 without the use of a division symbol. Same idea, we would have a over 2. Alright, so if we go on to the next page, A says write an expression showing a divided by b without the use of the division symbol. That'd be the same thing, we would just have a over b. Next we have write an expression for g divided by the quantity h plus 3. So we know we're going to have g divided by, so over, and now remember quantity, we're going to put those parentheses in, and it's h plus 3. Right, part C says write an expression for the quotient of the quantity m reduced by 3 and 5. So quotient, remember, is answer to a division problem. So we have the quantity m reduced by 3. So that's going to go in parentheses m minus 3, and they want the quotient of that and 5, so it's going to be divided by 5. Right? For the next section here, it says write each expression 2 ways using the division symbol and as a fraction. We are going to just use the fraction bar. We want to get in the habit of using that. So 12 divided by 4 would be 12 over 4. We don't need to solve, we're just writing it down. Next we have 3 divided by 5, which would be 3 over 5. Number 3, we have a divided by 4, so we would have a over 4. For part 4, we have the quotient of 6 and m. So when we see quotient, we know it's division, and we're going to have 6 over m. For number 5, we have 7 divided by the quantity x plus y. So we have 7, then divided by, and then quantity, remember we have to use those parentheses, and it was x plus y. For number 6, we have y divided by the quantity, x minus 11. So go one part at a time. So we have y divided by, and now quantity, parentheses, and then x minus 11, so x minus 11. 7, we have the sum of the quantity h and 3 divided by 4. So we have a lot going on. First we have that quantity. So I'm going to put my parentheses in, and that quantity is the sum of h and 3. So that's h plus 3, and then we want to divide that by 4. And then the last one, the quotient of the quantity k minus 10 and m. So again, we have that quantity, so we put our parentheses in, and it's k minus 10, and then divided by n. Right? So I know these seem a little confusing at first. Just remember to take it one step at a time, and then once you've written it, go back and reread the sentence and see if it makes sense with what you wrote on the paper. Alright, but what we're going to do now is we're going to flip over to lesson 14. And again, we're just doing some more writing division expressions, but now we're using this graphic organizer. And every box in the middle will say equivalent expressions, so we're just showing that there's more than one way to write out division. So they gave us the numbers here in the first one. It's 15 divided by 3. So we could do the easy part first, right? We know to use the fraction bar. We'd have 15 divided by 3. Right? And then remember, if we're using the actual division bar, 15 would go on the inside, 3 would go on the outside. And then if we write it using words, we would say the quotient of 15 and 3. Alright, so just another way to organize how many different ways we can write out division. Alright, so if we look at this, here we have nothing, but now we're just going to use the words dividend and divisor, which is what you've heard, I think you've heard of before, but we shall write the definition at the bottom. So the dividend is your original number. Or this is what you are dividing up. Right, your divisor is what you are dividing by. And this is how many groups you are making. Alright, so we're going to use that to fill in our organizer here. So, if we use just a symbol first, it's always the dividend divided by the divisor. So that means when we use our fraction symbol up here, the dividend goes on the inside and the divisor goes on the outside. And if we put it in fraction form, it's always dividend over the divisor. And then if we were to write it in words, it would be the quotient of the dividend and the divisor. Alright, so if you flip that page over, we've got two more examples here. I'm going to do one with you, and then you're going to try one on your own. If we fill in the first one, we have h divided by 16. So that means in our fraction bar, we'd have h on the inside, 16 on the outside. And with our fraction bar, we'd have h over 16. And then with words, this would say the quotient of h and 16. Right? This last one here, I want you to try on your own. Use the examples that you have, and then we will go over it in class tomorrow.